think many of you will agree with me when I say that we're most curious when we're children. Children have an inherent curiosity about life that allows them to learn more about the world around them. They're constant explorers, unafraid to learn through experience. And then somewhere along the line, this curiosity tends to weaken. I don't know if it gets suppressed by other people through the constructs of school and discipline, or if we just tend to become naturally more self-aware and start to suppress our own curious minds. It's probably a bit of both. But what I do know is what happened to me. As a child, I was shy, but I was always inquisitive. I was constantly asking why to absolutely everything because I was on the lookout for answers and I wasn't afraid to ask for them. And then I grew up and I went to school and I naturally started losing this inquisitiveness. I wasn't afraid to ask the questions, but I was fed reasons for why certain things are the way they are, and I believed them, as any child would. I was taught about rational thinking and analytical mindsets, and all of these other good but boring things that one needs to pass and get good marks and get into university, etc., etc. And so much so that by the time I was 17, in matric, about to start varsity, I had planned my whole life. And I'd put it into little boxes because that's just how my mind worked. And I was told that I should study something that would get me success and something that I was good at or got good marks for. So I applied to do BCom law and I thought, this is going to be my plan. I'm going to study for 5 years, I'm going to do my articles, get a job, climb the corporate ladder. By that time, I will be ready to get married, buy a house, have kids. Now this is me at 17 with this in my mind. And as you can see, nowhere in this plan is there any room to ask questions, to explore the world, to make mistakes and be young and reckless and carefree. And needless to say, I didn't end up following this plan. And I owe that all to that little spark of childhood curiosity that kept arising in me every time I had to make a big decision. And so at the end of last year, when I was deciding what to do, that spark of curiosity helped me to abandon the economics honors route and come to red and yellow instead. And it was the best decision I ever made because my shift in perspective about the creative space and about humans and life in general has been absolutely monumental. And what I have learned here is that creativity can't be taught. It was the first time I sat down in a lecture hall and I was being told about something without using an intricate formula or a complicated method to try and remember it. And yet it was one of the most difficult things I've ever had to wrap my head around, this idea of creativity and being creative. And what I did take out of it was simplicity. The best and most successful ideas are often the most basic and simple ones. And I asked myself why this might be, and I think it's because that in a chaotic and very organized world around us, simplicity is what stands out. And the best ideas are the most simple ones, and they come unplanned and at completely random moments. Take this, for example. In all the years of McDonald's advertising, they decide to do this, something as simple as taking the M out of a word, and yet it's such an effective ad. And I don't know who came up with this, but odds are that initial idea came to them at a random and unexpected time. This simplicity should not be limited to our creative thoughts. It should mirror itself in every aspect of our lives. The minute we start to see problems and challenges in their simplest form is how we can begin to tackle them. Because if you think about it, everything in life, every problem, every question has a very simple answer, but the hardest part is the journey to get to that answer. And so I realized this, and I recently decided to do some things that were very out of character for me. I was living a very happy and comfortable life. I was enjoying myself, but I was finding that every single day was becoming the same as the one before. And then I started to become curious. That spark arose in me again. And I started to think about a life that existed parallel to mine, one that was very much the same, yet with very different details about it. I couldn't handle this curiosity any longer, and I decided to take things into my own hands, make some changes, turn my life upside down a little bit, and start to pursue this dream life that I was thinking about. And it came down to this. Instead of being seen as a rule-following, logical, planned, and organized person, which are all very good qualities to have, I realized I didn't want to be seen this way anymore at the forefront. I wanted to be seen as somebody who was so completely happy and carefree and maybe a little bit reckless, but I wanted my happiness to ooze out of me so much that it became almost infectious and radiated out of me. And I realized that this was not easy. And this quote from Elizabeth Gilbert in Eat, Pray, Love sums it up pretty perfectly. Happiness is the consequence of personal effort. You fight for it, strive for it, insist upon it, and sometimes even travel around the world looking for it. You have to participate relentlessly in the manifestations of your own blessings. And once you have achieved a state of happiness, you must never become lax about maintaining it. You must make a mighty effort to keep swimming upward into that happiness forever, to stay afloat on top of it. And since this talk is entitled as a how-to, I decided that I would give you some of my thoughts about why turning life upside down can be the best thing that you ever do for your creative mind. And so here it is, how to eat, pray, love the hell out of life. Eat. This relates not only to food, but to anything that you consume. Be mindful of what you're consuming on the internet. Be mindful of the people that you're surrounding yourself with, because they are ultimately what makes you the happiest. Pray. Now, I just want to say here that, in my opinion, you don't need to believe in any particular thing or any particular being in order to be able to pray. Prayer can take on many forms. It can be a moment alone in a dark room gathering your thoughts for the day. It can be a moment of pure joy where you get to see a cute dog or you get to hug a friend that you haven't seen in a long time. It can be a couple of thoughts up to a loved one that you've lost, or it can be a full-on hour of silent meditation or yoga, if that's what floats your boat. But basically, you need to relish in those moments where your mind goes completely quiet and you feel a warm, fuzzy feeling of contentness inside. And that's how you know that you can pray. And then love. Here I'm talking about self-love. And it comes to the idea of not being afraid of your feelings. Now, I'm particularly bad at this because I'm particularly good at masking my emotions and hiding my feelings. But I've realized that humans have been blessed with the ability to feel such intense emotion, so why do we shy away from it? If you're going to feel sad, feel sad. If you're going to feel excited, feel that excitement. Because when we become in touch with our own emotions, that is the first step towards self-love. And it's not easy, but it's very necessary. And so I've learned in my extremely long 21 years on this earth that life is full of questions just waiting for answers. And whether you choose to go out and find your own answers or have somebody else feed them to you is entirely up to you. But what I suggest is that you let your curiosity get the better of you and you go out and you find your own answers. Because I can honestly say that deciding to become in charge of my own thoughts and beliefs has opened me up to a whole new world of amazing experiences and insights about humans and the world around me. And there's a quote by Joseph Campbell that goes, "We must be willing to get rid of the life we've planned so as to have the life that is waiting for us." And if you take anything from this talk, I hope that this sticks with you. And what's most important for me here is the idea of being willing. If you are not willing to turn your life upside down and ignore all rationality at some points, then you may not get the most out of it. And I'm very much still at the start of my journey in this, but I can say that the best ideas, the best moments, the best experiences all come unplanned and unexpectedly. Thank you.